and welcome. We are at my favorite campsite on the Santa Fe River. Santa Fe River is a tributary of the Suwannee River, and we are on a bluff right now just downstream of Jenny Springs property line, just upstream from the State Road 47 bridge. One of the reasons why this is my favorite campsite is because of its location. We are currently on Suwannee River Water Management District land, one of 5 water management districts in the state, and going hand in hand with its location, this section of the river, because of Poe Springs and Blue Springs and Rum Island and Jenny Springs, is both heavily trafficked, and there's not a lot of parts of the bank that are not private property. And I just think that this is a really, really wonderful spot. We're in some of the most beautiful areas that Florida has to offer. The springs in this area are extremely unique to Florida, extremely valuable in terms of recharge, and I mean, look for yourself. This is just an absolutely breathtaking spot. There is a lot of animal life in the area. We've already seen some deer and some kingfishers, and there were some sandhill cranes flying overhead a few minutes ago. And I mean, it's just absolutely breathtaking. One of the other nice things about this spot is that it's paddle-in only. So we got here at about 5:30 last night, and we haven't seen any other people here the whole time. It took about 45 minutes to paddle here, which is a very nice, short, leisurely paddle. And you can see that the campsite is fairly big, a lot of space, and currently we are just downstream of the campsite, and I wanted to point out this feature right over here. It looks like a modest hill, and in retrospect it probably is a modest hill, but what this actually is a natural dike of the river. What that means is that when water comes up over the side in flood events, the water deposits sediment and anything moving down the river on this small hill here. And what that does is it acts as kind of a high ground. And you can see if we come up here a little bit that the land is much higher. A lot of that is going to be sediment deposition from the river. It's not a very, very highly sediment-laden river, but based on the amount of nutrients that come from farms in the area, and the fact that the river runs right next to the city of Alachua and High Springs, means that there is a good amount of nutrification in the river. So there is definitely a good bit of plant life and algae growing in the river. So there is going to be some sediment deposition, not as much as in the Suwannee River, or especially a river like the Mississippi, or one of these very, very large, very turbulent, long, heavily eroded rivers. But you will see something like this natural levee here in the forest itself. So you can see a lot of the stems are about the same size. There's a lot of codominance. The only trees that really exhibit more dominance than the others are these big oak trees that tower a little bit overhead, but for the most part, the stems that you're going to see are going to be about 5 inches in diameter. This is a really fertile area. When the water from the river overtops the dike, you get a lot of very, very fertile, very fluff, high nutrient soil. So you get a lot of grasses, and you get a lot of trees that are popping up in the area. Not much to worry about in terms of maintaining respiration. Lots of leaf cover on the ground, and just a lot of growth going on in this area. Not a lot of temperature fluctuation. The river maintains the temperature in the area pretty well. The daylight is fairly short right now. We got out here about 5:30 yesterday, and it was just starting to get dark. Also, there are not a lot of disturbances in the area. The only disturbances are a few downed trees that are knocking some other trees out in their path, and also the only exogenous disturbance that we have are a set of power lines that run east to west, where there has been. Being so close to the river, this area is both extremely fertile and also is an invaluable source of discharge. The water table around the river is going to be much higher. So what that means is that when rainwater percolates into the soil, it gets down into the water table very, very easily. So forests like this, especially protected forests on water management district land where there's very, very little clear cutting, you're going to have extremely important zones of recharge when rain falls, which just kind of adds to the Spring. It's one of literally hundreds, if not thousands, of springs in Florida. It's part of the Floridan aquifer system, which spans most of north central Florida and even up into parts of Georgia. This crack is about 85 feet deep, and on the right side is where the actual cave goes down underground. Currently we're standing on private property, which in Florida gives you the right to own all the land around the spring, but not actually the water in the spring itself. All the water bodies in Florida belong to